Hey y'all, it's September 15th and we're first checking our homework, page 69, numbers 7 through 11. So number 7, suppose there is a 1.1 degree Fahrenheit drop in the temperature for every 1,000 feet that an airplane climbs into the sky. If the temperature on the ground is 59.7 degrees Fahrenheit, what will be the temperature at an altitude of 11,000 feet? Okay, so the temperature drops 1.1 degrees Fahrenheit. So what kind of 1.1 is that? Hopefully you recognize that should be a negative 1.1. Okay, now that drop happens for every 1,000 feet that the airplane climbs. So if the altitude of the plane is 11,000 feet, it's climbed 1,000 feet 11 times. So I'm going to multiply negative 1.1 times 11. When I do that, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, place a 0, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1. Add these together, I get 1, 2, 1. And because there is one decimal place right there, I move this decimal point one place over, so it goes right behind that 2. So I know that my total change in temperature is going to be negative 12.1 degrees Fahrenheit. That right there is the change in the temperature. Okay, now if the temperature on the ground is 59.7 degrees Fahrenheit, what is the temperature at an altitude of 11,000 feet? So we're going to take that 59.7 and we're going to subtract that 12.1 that we just found was the total change in temperature. So 7 minus 1 is 6. Bring down my decimal in line. 9 minus 2 is 7. And 5 minus 1 is 4. So my total, or my new temperature at 11,000 feet is 47.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, moving on to number 8. A farmer sells an average of 15 3/5 bushels of corn each day. What integer represents the change in the bushels of corn in his inventory after 6 days? And I want you to change this word integer because I feel like that's misleading. Change it to what number? Okay, so now I know that my answer could be a rational number. So if he's selling 15 3/5 bushels of corn, that means his inventory is dropping by that amount each day. So what kind of 15 3/5 do we really need here? Because his inventory is dropping by that amount. You're right, that would be a negative 15 3/5. So we have negative 15 3/5, and that's how much he sells each day. But we want to know what is the change in his inventory after 6 days. So I'm going to multiply this times 6. Now before I do any math, I know that my answer has to be negative. How do I know it has to be negative? Well, I have a negative number times a positive number. Different signs means my answer has to be negative. So I'm going to actually rewrite this so I have two fractions that I'm multiplying together. So first, let's convert this first one to an improper fraction. We need to multiply 5 times 15. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. So I'm going to have 75. Plus 3 makes 78. So we have negative 78 over 5 times 6 over 1. Okay, so I'm going to see if anything reduces. And when I look here, I look diagonally, 5 and 6, nothing reduces. 78 and 1, nothing reduces. So I'm just going to multiply across the top. So multiply 78 times 6 together. So 78 times 6. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 4 makes 46. So I get 468. And remember, our answer is negative. And then 5 times 1 on the bottom, because we're just multiplying across down here. 5 times 1 is simply 5. Now this right here is a fraction. So we need to change that to a mixed number. So to do that, we're going to use division, long division. So we know 468 goes in here and 5 goes on the outside. Well, how many times does 5 go into 46? It goes in 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. 46 minus 45 is 1. I'm going to bring down this 8. How many times does 5 go into 18? 5 goes into 18 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15, and we're left with 3. We have all the information we need right now to write our answer as a mixed number. Our whole is 93, our numerator is 3, and our denominator is 5. And remember, it's negative. So our answer is negative 93 and 3/5. That's how much his inventory changes after 6 days. Negative 93 and 3/5 bushels of corn. Number 9, a certain plant grows 1 1/6 inches every week. How long will it take for the plant to grow 6 1/6 inches? Well, to figure this out, I'm simply going to take the total height that we're looking for and divide it by how quickly it grows. So we have 6 1/6 divided by 1 1/6. So I'm going to start by rewriting both of these as improper fractions. So I know that 6 times 6 is 36 plus 1 is 37. So we have 37 over 6 divided by 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 over 6. Now that I've got two fractions, I can do keep, change, flip. So we keep our first one, 37 over 6. We change division to multiplication, and we flip this one here, so it's going to become 6 over 7. Now we're going to see if anything reduces. So when I look this way, my 6 and 6, those both reduce. 6 is their common factor, and 6 goes into 6 one time, 6 goes into 6 one time. Now let's look this way, 37 and 7. Nope, nothing reduces there. So we can't reduce any further, so we're ready to multiply. So we multiply across the top. 37 times 1 is simply 37. And then we have 1 times 7, and 1 times 7 is 7. Now this right here is an improper fraction, so let's see if we can make it a mixed number. So to do that, I'm going to use division. 37 goes on the inside, 7 goes on the outside. How many times does 7 go into 37? Well, it goes in 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. When I subtract, I'm left with 2. Now, I have everything I need to write my mixed number. I have 5 wholes, 2 is my remainder, that's my numerator, and 7 is my denominator. So my answer is 5 2/7. That's how long it's going to take in weeks for the plant to grow that many inches. So what that really means is 5 weeks and 2 days. Okay, moving on to number 10. An object is traveling at a steady speed of 8 2/3 miles per hour. How long will it take the object to travel 5.5 miles? Okay, well, the distance that we're wondering about is 5.5 miles, or sorry, not 5.5, 5 1/5 miles. So we're going to take that distance and divide it by the speed, the miles per hour, 8 2/3. So our problem, 5 1/5 divided by 8 2/3. Now let's write both of these as an improper fraction. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 1 is 26. So we have 26 over 5 divided by 3 times 8 is 24 plus 2 is 26 over 3. Now that I have two fractions, we're going to use keep, change, flip. So keep 26 over 5, change division to multiplication, and flip this one over here so it becomes 3 over 26. Now we're going to see if anything reduces. What about 3 and 5? Nope, doesn't reduce there. What about 26 and 26? Yeah, their common factor is 26. So 26 goes into 26 one time, and I can make that a 1 as well. So now we're ready to multiply. We multiply at the top. 1 times 3 is 3, and 5 times 1 is 5. So 3/5 of an hour is how long it's going to take for the object to travel 5 1/5 miles. Well, what does that mean? Well, we know an hour is 60 minutes, right? So if I divide that by 5, 5 goes into 6 one time. I get 5, subtract, I get 1. Bring down my 0. 5 goes into 10 two times. 2 times 5 is 10. There's no remainder. So I know that 12 minutes is 1/5 of an hour. And we're talking about 3/5 of an hour. So could I multiply 12 times 3 to figure out how many minutes that would take? Yeah. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. So 36 minutes is the same thing as 3/5 of an hour. So both of those answers would have been acceptable. Number 11, Brianna works as a customer service representative. She knows that the amount of her yearly bonus is $155, but $250 is taken away for each customer complaint about her during the year. What is her bonus if there are 12 complaints about her in the year? Okay, so if $2.50 is taken away, what kind of $2.50 are we talking about? Hopefully you said negative $2.50. So we have negative $2.50 for every customer that complains about her. And we know that there are 12 customers that complain about her. So we're going to multiply that times 12. Okay, so to do this, I'm just going to stack them. So 2.50 times 12. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry my 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. Place a 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. I'm going to add these rows together. 0, 0. 5 plus 5 is 10. And 2 plus 1 is 3. Now there are 2 decimal places. So I know that my decimal needs to move 2 places over. So $30 is how much is taken away. So our answer here is negative 30. Now, we're trying to figure out what is her bonus. So we have to start with the base bonus, which is $155, and then subtract 30. So we have 155 minus 30, and that's going to tell us how much her bonus is. So I'll put the bigger number on top, the smaller number on the bottom. 5 minus 0 is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. Bring down my 1. So her bonus is going to be $125. Okay, that is the end of your homework, but I want you to look at your 1-10 lesson quiz, that white paper, because I'm about to go over something that's like a hint, hint, wink, wink kind of dealio here, okay? So like I said, hint, hint, wink, wink, follow along with your white paper. Okay, here's our 1-10 lesson review. Kareem heats a beaker of water to a boil. He then records that the water temperature decreases from 100 degrees Celsius to 19 degrees Celsius in 5 2/5 minutes. What was the change in the temperature each minute? Enter your answer in the box. Okay, well first we need to figure out the total change in temperature. And we know that it goes from 100 degrees Celsius to 19 degrees Celsius. So to figure out the total temperature change, I'm just going to subtract those. So 100 minus 19. Now I can't take 9 away from 0, so I am going to borrow. So this 1 becomes a 0, this becomes a 10 that then becomes a 9, and this right here becomes a 10. So 10 minus 9 is 1, 9 minus 1 is 8. So 81 degrees Celsius, that right there is the total temperature change. Now, did that temperature increase 81 degrees or decrease 81 degrees? Hopefully you said it decreased 81 degrees. So what kind of 81 do we really need in our problem situation? We really need a negative 81 because it decreased 81 degrees. Okay, so we're going to take negative 81 and divide that by how long it took for it to change that many degrees. And it took 5 2/5 minutes. So we have negative 81 divided by 5 2/5. So let's start by rewriting this. So I have two fractions. So how do I rewrite this whole number as a fraction? Negative 81 over 1. You're right. So we have negative 81 over 1 divided by, let's write this one as an improper fraction. So 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 is 27 over 5. Now that we have two fractions, we're ready to do keep, change, flip. So let's keep the first one, negative 81 over 1. Change division to multiplication and flip this one here, so it becomes 5 over 27. Now I'm ready to see if anything reduces. So 5 and 1, nothing reduces there. But 81 and 27, we can reduce. 9 goes into both of those. 9 goes into 81 9 times, and 9 goes into 27 3 times. Well, when I look, I still have 9 and 3. Those numbers still reduce. So what's a number that goes into both of those? Well, 3 goes into both of those. 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 9 3 times. So now that I've reduced all the way, I am ready to multiply. I multiply across the top. 3 times 5 is 15. And I have 1 times 1 on the bottom, which is just 1. And remember, we had two different signs. There's my negative times a positive, so my answer has to be negative. So we have negative 15 over 1, which is simply negative 15. So my answer that I would enter in the box is negative 15 degrees Celsius. Okay, moving on to number 2. To win a trivia game, Nevin must score 90 points. Each correct answer is worth 1 3/4 points, and each incorrect answer is worth negative 1/4 points. If he gets 58 questions correct and 22 questions incorrect, does Nevin win? How many points does he score? Okay, so we know he must score 90. He gets 58 questions correct, and those are worth 1 3/4 points. So I'm going to multiply those two numbers together. So how do I write 58, this whole number here, as a fraction? Well, 58 over 1. So we have 58 over 1 that we're going to multiply with 1 3/4. Can I write that as an improper fraction though? Yeah. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So times 7 over 4. Okay, if I multiply these together, I'm going to find out how many points he got from correct answers. And let's just go ahead and do that. Let's see if anything reduces. 1 and 7, nothing reduces. But 58 and 4. Well, those are both even numbers, so I know 2 will go into both of those. So let's try 2 first. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 58 29 times. And if you needed to do division, you could do that. Okay, so now I can't reduce any further, so I'm going to have to go ahead and multiply. So 29 times 7. Well, I don't know that off the top of my head. So 29 times 7. 7 times 9 is 63. Carry my 6. 7 times 2 is 14. Plus 6 is 20. So I get 203 over 2. Okay, that's how many points he got from correct answers. Now let's see how many points he got from incorrect answers, or how many points he lost. So he answered 22 questions incorrectly, and each one of those is worth -1/4 points. So how can I write this whole number, 22, as a fraction? 22 over 1. So we have 22 over 1 times -1/4. Okay, now what I know about this is I'm going to have a negative product because I'm multiplying a positive times a negative. My signs are different. Let's see if anything reduces. So 1 and 1, nope, nothing reduces there. What about 22 and 4? Well, they're both even numbers, so let's try 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 22 11 times. 11 and 2, I can't reduce any further, so I am ready to multiply. So we have 11 times 1, which is 11, and then we have 1 times 2, which is 2, and remember, it needs to be negative. So now we're just going to combine our two products, 203 over 2 and -11 over 2. So we have 203 over 2 minus 11 over 2. What's good here is that we have the same denominator. So we don't need to change anything. So we're just focused right here on our numerators. So 203 minus 11. So 203 minus 11, 3 minus 1 is going to be 2. And then 20 minus 1 is going to be 19. So I have 192 over 2, and it should be positive. Now, how many points is that? To figure that out, I'm going to use long division. So 2 goes into 192. 2 goes into 19. It goes in 9 times. 9 times 2 is 18. 19 minus 18 is 1. I bring down my 2. 2 goes into 12. 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. There is no remainder. So 192 over 2 is the same thing as 96. So he scores 96 points, and he needed 90 points to win the game. So does he win? Yes, he scores 96 points. So we would choose that answer right there. Okay, moving on. Question 3. At the beginning of the month, Kimberly has $65.78. Since then, she has received 3 payments of $32.50 from her babysitting job. Kimberly's 2 sisters each helped her babysit once during the month, so Kimberly paid them each $8.75. If Kimberly did not spend any money, how much money does she have now? Enter your answer in the box. Okay, so let's start with how much extra she earned. She received 3 payments of $32.50. So that means she's earning that money. So that's a positive $32.50. So I'm going to multiply $32.50 times 3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. And 3 times 3 is 9. There's where our decimal is, but because we have 1, 2 decimal places, we move it 1, 2 places over. So she earned a total of $97.50. That's how much she earned, right? Now, her 2 sisters helped her, and she paid them $8.75 each. So if she's paying them, that money's coming out of what she earned. So what kind of $8.75 is that? That's right, it's negative. So we're going to take negative $8.75 and multiply that times her 2 sisters for helping her out. So I know here that my answer has to be negative, right? Because I have 2 different signs. Well, what is 2 times 5? 10. 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1, 15. 2 times 8, 16 plus 1, 17. So our decimal's there, but because we have 1, 2 decimal places, we move it 1, 2 places over. So it becomes negative $17.50. So that's how much she had to pay her sisters. So can I go ahead and combine these to figure out how much she added to what she already had? Yes, I can. So we're going to combine those. So we have 97.50 minus 17.50. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 5, 0. Bring down your decimal. 7 minus 7, 0. 9 minus 1, 8. Okay, now should this be positive 80 or negative 80? Well, because my bigger number was positive, it is positive $80. That's how much extra she earned after she's paid her sisters. So now we want to know, if she did not spend any money, how much money does she have now? So we're going to take $80 and add that to what she started with here. So $65.78 plus the $80 that she earned is going to give us our new total. So 8 plus 0 is 8. 7 plus 0, 7. Bring down your decimal. 5 plus 0, 5. And 6 plus 8, 14. So she has now $145.78. Okay, number 4. A scuba diver is swimming 15 feet below the water's surface. The diver swims up slowly at 0.5 feet per second for 4 seconds, then stops to look at an eel. Finally, the diver swims up 3 more seconds at 0.4 feet per second. What is the diver's new depth? Enter your answer in the box. Okay, so let's figure out how much he travels each time he's traveling. So he starts by swimming at 0.5 feet per second for 4 seconds. So I'm going to multiply those two numbers together, and that's going to tell me the distance that he traveled. And remember, he's traveling up. So these are positive numbers. So we have 0.5 times 4. 4 times 5 is 20. Carry my 2. 4 times 0 is 0. Plus 2 is 2. I'm going to move my decimal 1 place over because we only have 1 decimal place in our problem. So we have 2. Positive 2 here. Okay. Then he stops. And he's looking at an eel. And then he swims up again for 3 more seconds at 0.4 feet per second. So because this is up again, both of these numbers are positive. So I'm going to multiply these numbers together now. So 0.4 feet per second times 3 seconds for how long he was swimming. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry my 1. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. There's 1 decimal place, so I'm going to move this 1 place value over. So I get a positive 1.2 here. Okay? So the total change is going to be 2 plus 1.2, so 3.2 feet up, right? So he travels 3.2 feet up. Okay, so that's a positive 3.2. I'm going to take that and add that to 15 feet below the water's surface. What kind of 15 feet is that? Negative 15 feet. So we have negative 15 plus 3.2. Well, do you notice that the signs are different? So I really need to subtract them. So 15 is farther away from 0, so that goes on top. 3.2 goes on the bottom. We're subtracting. I'm going to add a decimal and a 0 here. Now, I can't take 2 away from 0, so I'm going to have to borrow. This 5 becomes a 4, and that 0 becomes a 10. So now 10 minus 2 is 8. Bring down your decimal. 4 minus 3 is 1, and bring down this one right here. So we get 11.8, but what kind of 11.8? Well, he's still below the water surface, and our bigger number was negative, so it should be negative 11.8. That is his new depth, negative 11.8 feet Okay. Last one, number 5. During 7.5 months of hibernation, a black bear experienced a weight loss of 64.4 pounds. On average, what was the bear's weight change per month? Round to the nearest tenth. Enter your answer in the box. Okay, so round to the nearest tenth. I'm going to underline that because that simply means that we need 1 decimal place. Okay, so some key pieces of information here. The bear loses 64.4 pounds over 7.5 months. So how much does he lose in 1 month? So I'm going to divide here. I'm going to divide the total weight change, 64.4 divided by 7.5. Okay, now I could do these as fractions, but 64.4, that's going to give me a really big improper fraction, and so I'm just going to use decimals here. So I'm actually going to change this right here to 7.5. So that's an equivalent decimal. So we have 64.4 divided by 7.5. So when I go to write this ready for long division, which number goes inside? Well, the top number, so 64.4. That means that 7.5 goes on the outside. But remember, on the outside, we do not want a decimal. I want to make that a whole number. So in order for me to make that a whole number, I have to move my decimal point 1 place over in that direction to the right. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Move my decimal 1 place value over here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my decimal in my quotient line. And now I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 75 go into 644? How many times would 75 go into 644? Well, I know that 75 times 10 would be 750. So I know 644 is about, a little bit over 100 away from that. So let's try maybe 8. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry my 4. 8 times 7 is 56. Plus 4 is 60. So I got really, really close. I couldn't have gone any bigger. So 644 minus 600 is 44. Let's add our decimal and a 0 and bring down that 0. How many times does 75 go into 440? Well, I know that 75 times 10 would be 750. And 440, maybe a little bit more than halfway. But let's try 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 7 is 35. Plus 2 is 37. So I think we're okay here. So I can't take 5 away from 0. So let's make this 4 a 3. And that 0 a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. I can't take 7 away from 3. So we'll make this a 3 and that a 13. 13 minus 7 is 6. So I get 65. Okay, well, let's keep on going. So add a 0, bring it down. How many times does 75 go into 650? Well, remember, we started with 644. And we said that 75 times 8 is 600. So let's try 8 again. 8 times 75 is going to be 600. So our remainder is going to be 50. But here's the deal. We could keep going, but we have 2 decimal places now. And we only need 1. So because this is an 8, what do I need to do with that number there? I need to round it up. So how many pounds does he lose per month? Well, he loses 8.6 pounds per month. 8.6 pounds per month. That is the end of this review. Finish your Sabbath lesson quiz for homework. Bye, y'all.